Works and Engineering Services for May 23rd.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Councilman, good with the agenda?
Yes, Rev, you approve, Mr. Chairman.
We'll go presentation, we'll go right into the debate.
Yes, sir. I'm going to ask Mr. Prather to help me with some of this load, and first two he'll present to you.
Good morning. How y'all doing?
Morning.
Steve.
I have two items for your consideration this morning. The first one being a deductive change order for Wildwood Area 2 bathhouse and 3 restroom. This project's wrapping up. We're finishing up a few punch list items, but successfully done that on time and within budget. This is a deductive change order for $2,434.10. You'll see in your packet some before and after photos. This wraps up the 3 areas of renovation up there, and staff recommends approval. They're in use. Yeah, they were. We scheduled these to make sure they were in use by Masters Week.
Second.
Thank you. The second item I have for your consideration is the re-roof of Patriots Park Gym. This is coming out of our 17 to 22 SPLOST contingency project. So we've identified a few projects at Patriots. This has been in need for some time. There's been some leaks on the gym floor, which is another aspect that we're looking into. We received bids on May 11th, and our low bidder was Crosby Roofing and Gutters, LLC, in the amount of $386,000. Staff recommends approval. This will be completed within 70 days of a notice to proceed being issued.
Complete roof.
This is a
The whole
complete,
building.
it's a retrofit roof over the gym. There's a connecting corridor that's in between the gym and the administration area with skylights that will be replaced, as well as the metal roof on the front of the administration area.
Second.
Move.
Thank y'all.
Right.
Next I have for you is a consideration of a purchase of 4 balers. These are compactors that we use in our recycle centers. 3 of these will go to William Few, 1 will go to Riverside Park. These balers are used quite often. They have experienced a lot of wear and tear. We have tried rebuilding some of them. We did have a quote from Sourcewell Contract, the amount of $20,622.46 each. We're trying to buy 4 of these. This TAVT funded $82,489.84. Staff recommends approval.
Second.
So move.
Next for you are resolutions for adopting our fee schedules. We have 3 fee schedules we're presenting to you. The first one we're presenting to you is our water fee schedule. We have not changed our water consumption rates since April of 2016, and we have not adjusted our tap fees since 2017. We've experienced a lot of increases in our chemicals. In a little while you'll hear about a chemical that has gone up about 500% on our cost. We're experiencing higher costs for construction, higher costs for equipment, higher costs for labor. In order to keep our fund balance from dipping down to 0, we need to amend our rates. Mr. Gordon has done a rate study. He has projected at our current rate, I believe we hit a 0 balance in 3 years. 3 years, our fund balance will be completely gone if we maintain our current rates. Proposed rates will help us level that fund balance out, keep our operating, 180-day operating, also allow us to keep doing our extension renewal project, keep expanding our system without having to borrow money. If we do a major expansion, we might have to do a major expansion, treatment plant expansion. We may have to borrow money, but we don't have one of those on the horizon right this second. But in front of you, you do have a proposal for FY 24, 25, and 26. I know the information in your packet, you had to flip back and forth a lot to do your comparison. So I did put together a sheet for you this morning that shows the water rates, residential and commercial water rate comparisons. I'm also working on one for tap fees. However, I ran out of time this morning before committee started, so I will have that to you probably within 30 minutes after committee's freed up. I'll provide that to you by email. But if you look at it, for a home that's less than 10,000 gallons. Currently, they're paying $2.24 for 1,000 gallons of water. We're going up by 11 cents, $2.35 for 1,000 gallons. In the back of your package, you'll also see a comparison for a total bill for somebody that has water and sewer for different consumption rates, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000. Notice that we are still the lowest, the areas we compared. Our rates low for our citizens is definitely a goal, but we also have to cover our cost to operate. So staff has recommended approval of these new rates. It does need 2 readings and debate.
I think 16,
Correct.
said, had a fund balance of $60 million.
Fund balance was high, correct.
That's why I'm not in favor of
Chairman
this.
Duncan and myself did not feel that we could raise rates on our citizens, fund balance of 60.
And we didn't do that. Staff heard that loud and clear. We have held off on any sort of rate increases until we got to the situation we are now. We have spent the fund balance down significantly now. We're now at a much more comfortable position with that fund balance. We do have renewal extensions covering the remainder of that fund balance, so that money is currently allocated if we self-fund. So we have done exactly what the intent of the board was, which was to reduce that fund balance before we came back with a rate increase.
We're asking for a rate increase every year for the next 3 years.
Correct.
That's correct.
You look at the end of it, so I'll go back to that sheet I handed out this morning. Currently, $2.24 per thousand. By 2025, if all 3 rate increases are approved, it goes to $2.50 per thousand. So a 26-cent increase over 3 years for 1,000 gallons of water.
What is the fund balance now?
It's down below 30
Yeah, it's below 30.
or 20 million. It was 60 million 2 years ago.
Oh, I vividly remember.
Bond rating, they did that in place. Bonding company.
Right, all they wanted us to do was raise taxes to make them comfortable, raise fees. I vividly remember that. It was 60 million, or it was at 60 million, it's 20 now. I realize we've pushed to develop projects to get stuff done, get stuff built. I heard you say that in 3 years, we would not have a positive fund balance. Does that assume that we would continue building, or is that?
That's doing the current projects y'all have already approved. That's not adding any additional projects.
Day,
Our policy states we should have no more than 180 days.
For just the water system, all departments, or the county?
Price fund.
Well,
What's the question? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, because we do have more than 180 days of, or at least in all our investments for the county, taxes that we take from the citizens. The water is policy for every department, so we should have 180 days in every fund that we have, everything that we fund, enterprise funds as well.
Well, so, yes, we have an internal policy for that. This is an enterprise fund, so obviously it's a little bit different than what we have with the general fund. But to maintain our bond rating, water has its own AAA standalone bond rating.
Correct.
So for them to maintain their bond rating, they have to have similar strong cash reserves. And that is at least 180 days in operating capital. Again, that doesn't take into consideration any of these projects. We have $66 million worth of remaining projects that we have already identified that need to be done. There's a $66.4 million obligation of projects that we already have on the books. Some of them are on hold, some of them are moving forward, but we already have those on the books. So obviously,
Those were funded, though, through the balance that we had. We haven't gone past the fund balance for those projects, to my knowledge.
well, yeah, we had about $86 million in cost, and we had about $60 million in fund balance total. We've used about $40 million of that so far.
How much surplus do we generate every year? Because that was the issue. We weren't spending.
Right. It varies. I think this year we're probably 7 million. So that's why we're able to to project out those projects above what we had in fund balance, because we knew we were gonna add money to fund balance every year. At this point, our fund balance is sinking faster than our reserves are adding back to it.
And I can only speak for myself. I'm gonna have to see a whole lot more analysis of the financials to vote for this. That doesn't mean it won't pass.
I will hand it to you.
I need to see more.
Here, I'll hand you a nice thick book that lays it all
I need
out.
the Reader's Digest version.
Well, I think we just gave you the Reader's Digest version. You may have to dig into
I
the,
need the thick book.
you may have to dig into the thick book. We can get that to you. Let me just say again, that we heard loud and clear that this board was not willing to raise these fees when we had that strong fund balance. And the staff never asked for that. We never brought you a fee increase back. There have been times we've talked about fee increases and we have not brought it back to this board because it was not the right time. We view ourselves too, staff, not talking about what the commission does, as fiscally conservative. It's time for a rate increase. If we don't, we're gonna find ourselves in a situation where we're not gonna be able to meet our demands. So we're throwing that out there. We'll get you all the information y'all need to look at, to be able to look at that. We are asking for 3 years. We're doing that so we do incremental increases to get us where we need to be over a 3-year period, as opposed to hitting our citizens with one big rate increase at one time. We're not looking for anything beyond that. We'd have to reevaluate after that 3 years. We're not looking to say in year 4 that we add more. I think this 3-year increase gets us where we need to be. But, you know, we have to continue to evaluate. But we've got a lot of information we can get you. There is a lot, Mr. Chairman, a lot, big book. We'll get you all that stuff. Y'all can dig through it. If you have any questions, you can ask us and we'll try to work it out for you.
Debate.
Next item, sir.
The next one I have for you is the adoption of the fee schedule for land development fees. These are land disturbance permits that are issued for disturbing soils in county. You'll look, it's page 85 in my packet. It shows our current fees versus our proposed fees. We are currently spending approximately $530,000, I think is the number, per year to operate our soil and erosion, stormwater group that handles land disturbance. We're generating about $200,000 in revenues. We're $300,000 upside down on what money comes in versus what it costs us to actually run the department. Tried to look at other entities, how they do it. Tough to compare yourself to everybody else. Everybody has a different way of doing this. Some places have a large upfront fee. Some people have a small upfront fee, then they expand it per acre. Some folks give you a permit that's only good for a certain amount of time, and if you're not done with your project within that time, you have to come back and pay the fees again. So it was very hard for us to compare apples to apples across the board, but we did look at all of them. Our current fee structure actually helps you. The more land you open up, it actually incentivizes you to open more land because your fees actually come down versus opening up smaller portions along the way. We kind of reconsidered how we did that. Our new fee setup kind of encourages you to take down smaller tracts of land, develop them versus opening up a lot at one time. This does not get us all the way to where we need to be. This gets us, I believe, another $100,000 in revenue for the year, so we're still going to show a loss in our funding, but we didn't feel comfortable bringing you an increase that brought us all the way to where it needed to be. We will watch this. We will see how things go in the future, and if we back in the future, we will. Your numbers are there. This is going to add $100,000 roughly in revenue to our fund.
Comes through permits,
Correct. Mr. Scarberry's
stormwater stand.
correct. Mr. Scarberry's office has the counter set up to collect fees, so all the funds go to building standards. Stormwater, at the end of the year, we compile what it costs stormwater to operate those permits, how to inspect them, and then we submit the bill to Mr. Scarberry. He then pays us out of those fees he collected. Unfortunately, he does not collect enough to pay the bill, so.
Not collecting enough because we don't have the inspections? Trying to
Fees are too low. Fees don't cover our costs.
work on that, so I'm super sensitive to raising any fee. Matter of fact, I'm always an automatic no until there's justification. So in this situation, I look at the inspections, the number of inspections you have to do, I see that just in the commercial, excuse me, the residential side, our housing, last time I saw it, the housing permits are half of what they were a year ago. They're a half. Are we doing more inspections or less with half of the houses?
Doing less inspections now than we were, will be as the permits continue to go down. However, we're still required by law to do certain inspections, so we still have our staff out there, we just have less sites to go look at.
So is that why
So this,
revenue's down? We don't?
this was all considered before Mr. Scarberry projected his new permits. We started working this before we saw the major decline in permits. Give you an example. So, currently, if we have a 25-acre site that's disturbed, that's $250 plus 25 acres times $25 per acre. So that's $625 plus $250. They pay us $875 fee to take it down a 25-acre site. $875, and that might take them a year working on that site. We're out there every week inspecting that site to make sure it's in compliance. And
Every time it rains.
Every time it rains, that's right. So $875, we're nowhere close to covering our cost. I can send a guy out there 8 times, maybe 9, before we've spent that money. Under the new fee, it'd be $450 times $11,250. So it's quite an increase on a large site. That $11,000 pays me to have a guy out there every week, every time it rains, inspecting the site.
And what this does is it allows us to let the user pay for what they're consuming. If we didn't do this, and if we didn't have enough money to cover this where we are now, we have to get to the point where we have to look back to the general fund. Okay, can the general fund cover these shortages, or are we operating in a deficit? And we're getting to the point where that may be the case. Well, the only way to do that in the general fund is either to cut general fund services or to raise taxes. We don't feel like it's appropriate to come to this board and ask you to raise taxes to cover things that user fees should have covered.
Or the digest goes up by, say, 15%.
But as the digest goes up, that's because we have additional calls on services. We have additional people moving here, living here. We have more sheriff's department. We have more fire department. We have a lot more calls of service. So yeah, we're going up with the digest, and that's allowing us to do that. But I still don't think it's the right thing, it's my opinion, the right thing to do to supplement these enterprise funds with general fund money. If we just need to set the fee to whatever it is. We're not looking to make money on these. We're not trying to get rich on these things. We're trying to break even, so we're not having to use tax dollars to cover them. And today, we're not breaking even.
Move to debate.
Move.
Next one is a resolution to amend the fee schedule for building standards. Same song and dance you've heard the last 2 times. We're not covering our cost. This is another department where we had a fee set back in, I believe it was 2016, so we're operating on the same fees for the last 7 years. Mr. Scarberry's fund balance was approximately $2 million. It is now down to $1 million in the last 2 years, so we're dipping into fund balance about $500,000 per year to fund his department. So I would say we're 2 years away, but now that we have less permits, our funds or our revenues are going to be even less. So we're probably 1.5 years away from having 0 fund balance to cover his overages.
And if it's down, we're going to cut expenses, right?
We already are.
I have a question, Ms. Malier, you're in the contracting business. But inspectors call for an inspection on a job. They can't get there for 3 days. How much is that going to cost you? Rather pay the fee, did I hear correct? When I develop a project, I'm the same way you are. It's gonna rain the day after tomorrow. I need concrete poured tomorrow. I need that inspector there today, this afternoon.
But you're saying there's less overall projects.
Right.
We've already cut, we don't have all of our inspectors
Have to
full.
cut-
Okay, well,
to
that
cut
answered that
those
then.
fees-
Yeah.
That answered
To
that.
cut those fees, you're gonna have to cut inspectors. Is that right, Paul? I have a question. Off record, whatever, not off record. Not off record. Not off record, out of the way. Has MAU raised their fees since 2016?
Only with the approval of our clients.
I get it. I want to keep it as low as we possibly can. I don't say that we're at the right number now. I don't know what the right number is. It's our job, and I know when I'm building something, you've got to have the inspector, you've got to have the people. You're gonna pay 10 times what this fee is gonna cost.
Move to debate.
Second.
So move.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This
You
first,
don't want to raise fees too, do you? No, I'm just kidding.
I have no fee raising.
He
in my
just
whole
did.
life.
I
It was Matt. I had nothing to do with it. All right. So this first item we have is the purchase of a new influent pump at the Little River wastewater treatment plant. We've been having a lot of issues at this station. It's the main station at this plant. It handles all the sewage for our largest treatment facility. We've actually had 2 pump failures. Our backup pump actually lives there now. We looked at repairing the existing pump. It was actually less expensive to purchase a pump that we're more comfortable with. It's more standardized for our system. So we went ahead and made that purchase. It also saved us 8 weeks of lead time. This is a critical station. If this station goes down, we're gonna have a sewer spill. So we recommend declaring this as an emergency purchase.
Move to consent.
Second.
So move.
The next item I have is a proposal to provide engineering services, design services from Turnip Seed Engineering for the sodium hypochlorite on-site generation system and building at the Clarks Hill Water Treatment Plant. When we had planned the UV AOP system, the purchase of sodium hypochlorite at 12% was about $1 a gallon. Now it's approximately $5 a gallon, so a significant increase there. It's actually become fiscally responsible to generate it on site. We already generate sodium hypochlorite on site. This was going to be to supplement for the UV AOP process. What this would do would actually let us go ahead and build that additional on-site generation. We can kind of start making some payback, and it will feed into a later expansion of this plant that's actually planned as a part of the master plan. So staff recommends the approval of this proposal.
Second.
So move.
The next item I have is a water line extension for Craig Drive. A citizen reached out and inquired about installing county water. We did our typical, what we would do is determine how much it will cost us to install. It was $35,000. We also took into account that there are other people that are tapped into the Hereford Farm water line. We kind of used their tap fees to offset some cost as well. And in doing that, came up with a cost to each resident for $4,940 to tap onto this new water line. The county would install that and underwrite the process. We basically split the cost between us and the residents. And if this is approved, we'll let all the property owners on that road know the fee that the water line is coming. And staff recommends the approval of this water line extension.
Tied in Hereford Farm, so this
Right.
will take
So
place and no fee
that's correct.
to them.
That's correct. So they have already paid a tap fee. We will move their tap over because that's for our convenience. We'll also help out when the Hereford Farm road widening happens.
Other lots, so when they come on,
That's correct.
they'll get sticker shock, but they will owe
That's correct.
$4,900.
And you'll also remember, this was a request that we got from a resident who had a failing well and no way to be able to do that. So I believe they're pleased with the outcome here.
We met with Matt and Kyle and Stacy and all out there, and they problem there. Contaminated. Water is all the way around them. It was just,
Connecting the water line.
No.
We'll set the meter. They'll be responsible for going from the house to the meter. Now, the 3 that are currently out there, they've already paid their tap fees. Those we will connect for them because we're causing the work to be done.
Right.
We're moving the meter, not them, so that tie-in to make them whole. Nothing guarantees anybody else pays that $5,000 tap fee, but this one man who's made this request has agreed to pay that tap fee, so we're taking a little risk that our return on investment is more than the 30 years that it typically takes.
But there is two lots.
There's
I believe,
potential.
Two lots potential out there.
Potential, right.
Second.
So moved.
The next item I have is the master plan for water utility. This master plan provides near and long-term planning for water sewer expansion based off of information from the 2035 plan and kind of how that laid out growth in the county. This document may need to be reviewed and updated as we see growth and where growth goes, but staff recommends accepting the master plan as a guide for water sewer expansion activities in the county.
Move to consent.
And the next item I have is an independent contract agreement with Pond and Company for the 44 series production on Hardy McManus. So as a part of the widening, the original contract did not include the creation of the 44 series. That's required through the funding agency we're working with and working with GDOT on this project. So what we've done is go back to Pond and ask them what it would take to put the 44 series in the final set, and that's the agreement that you see attached. Staff recommends approval.
Second.
I believe this is my final item. I have an independent contractor agreement with Cranston Engineering for the Columbia County watershed analysis. This proposal is to perform a study of the Reed Creek Basin. We have several sewer lines in the basin that the creek is eroding towards. Come to the point where we can't really move those sewer lines anymore. We need to armor them. As a part of that, the Corps of Engineers requires a study of the full basin. This is also will help us in our BRIC grant application, so we're applying for some FEMA dollars to assist in that. It's a pretty significant project. We've actually partnered with Stormwater and Columbia County Engineering to work on this. It's kind of a group effort, and the staff recommends approval of the watershed analysis.
Second.
Titus.
Good morning.
Sir?
Doing well. First item we have is a public hearing for a proposed streetlight district in Tillery Park Section 2. Staff received a petition from the developer. Staff reached out to Georgia Power and requested upfront cost and annual utility cost. The public hearing notifications were mailed to property owners and advertised in the Augusta Chronicle as required by code. Permission, we would like to open the public hearing, and staff will document any comments.
Public hearing is now open. Public hearing?
The next item is Resolution 23-20 to establish the streetlight district in Tillery Park Section 2. The fees, the upfront pole costs are shown along with the annual utility costs, developer contribution, and the annual revenue. Staff recommends approval. First reading.
Debate or
Yes, debate.
debate?
Second.
Always do. Developers contribution. $1,000 a month.
This will be the last for the year until October. So we stopped taking applications in May, and we don't start again until October. And our goal is to have a new streetlight procedure to the board for approval to address this by October. The next item we have is an amendment to the contract with E.R. Snell for Horizon South Parkway. Last year, state law changed to where we can no longer hold 10%, which is what road construction currently does, 10% retainage. State law now requires a maximum of 5% is allowed to be withheld. So we'd like to update this contract to reflect state law. So moving forward, we will only hold 5% retainage until final inspection. Staff recommends approval. The next item is the same, but it's for the Reeves Construction Company contract for the White Oak Business Park. Regarding changing the contract from 10% retainage to 5%. Staff recommends approval.
The consent, they have a good lobbyist.
Yeah, they do.
And the next item is, again, the same. It's with Reeves Construction Company for the South Old Bel Air Road at Old Bel Air Lane intersection improvements contract, changing the 10% retainage to 5%. Staff recommends approval. The next item we have is for acceptance of improvements at Southwind Village Phase 3A. This is to accept the road, the stormwater, the water utility, and sewer infrastructure. There are no ponds being accepted with this. The ponds are actually in the next phase. Staff recommends approval.
Second.
The next item is for acceptance of easements for LAX 11 LLC or Gas World off Old Evans Road. This is for the acceptance of a small water utility easement along with 2 site view easements. The parcel is not going to be developable without these site view easements, which requires the owner of the parcel to maintain clear view in these easements for traffic. Staff recommends approval.
Second.
And the last item is approving change order 2 with Reeves Construction for additional parking lot improvements at Savannah Rapids Pavilion. This is to their contract where they're currently expanding that upper parking lot at Savannah Rapids. This is not a change order to their additional work. We've realized that the southern parking lot when you leave the pavilion is in disrepair, while Reeves is out there repaving the current access road and servicing the new lot. We'd like for them to go ahead and mill and replace the current lot. The change order is for $60,744. This is to remove the existing speed bumps or parking bumpers, to mill the parking lot down, to expand the concrete dumpster pad, to resurface the lot, to restripe it, and reinstall parking bumpers. Staff recommends approval.
This will just be the lower lot, is that
Correct, yes, sir.
That point has the whole lot,
Everything on the upper portion where they've installed a new parking lot, the access road, and then down that south parking lot, but it won't be the entire parking lot of the facility. It'll just be the parking lot south between the Savannah Rapids Pavilion building and I believe it's CVB.
No. Matters. Driver, you have some guests with you this morning. Would you like to introduce them?
Hi, welcome.
Oh. All right. Staff reports.
Yes, sir. I have the year-to-date budget report as well as the water and sewer construction projects report. Prepared to answer any questions.
Customer service.
Yes, I'm trying to remember why. I believe we got another neighborhood. We had a large neighborhood, purchased a lot of meters at one time. That may be why that number's high, but I can verify and get back to you on that.
Kind of out of the way. Commissioner or public comment? Have a couple of executive items. What is
Make a motion, we just move.
Second.
10:08.